khalf, and another is khalaf, with a fatha on the lam. Khalf is used for those successors who are bad, unworthy successors. مَنْ يَخْلُفُ غَيْرُهُ فِي الشَّرِّ, the one who succeeds another in evil. And khalaf, with the fatha on the lam, is used for good successors, those who succeed others in goodness. So over here, what is being mentioned? Khalf. Meaning, the generation who came afterwards, the later generations, they were not good successors to their predecessors. They were not good successors at all. Why? Because they did not give the book, the haqq. Warithu, they inherited. Warithu from the root letters, waw, ra, sa. They inherited al-kitaba, the book. The later generations who succeeded the early generations, what did they do? They inherited the book from their predecessors. What does it mean by inheriting the book? Meaning inheriting the knowledge of the Torah. They inherited the knowledge of the Torah. Because the prophets, they do not leave behind dirham and dinar. What do they leave behind? Knowledge. So the later generations, they inherited the book. It's not that they were evil because they did not learn about the book. No. They were very knowledgeable about the book. But then what made them bad? It was because يَأْخُذُونَ, they would take عَرَضَ, the goods of what? هَذَا الْأَدْنَى, of this lower life. They learned the book. They understood the book. But through the book, what were they seeking? Dunya. They were seeking the goods of this lowly life. Instead of implementing the book, instead of applying the book, they would take the commodities of this lower life, the inferior goods of this worldly life, whether legally or illegally. They were using the deen to obtain their dunya, whether legally or illegally. Notice the word arad. Arad is from the root letters ayn, ra, dad. And is from the word arid. Arid is that which is temporary. So arad are goods that are temporary. Imam Raghib, he said that arad is everything that does not have permanence, that does not have thabat. It does not last for long. It cannot last forever. And Abu Ubaidah, he said that arad is all of mata'ud dunya, the benefits, the goods of this world. In Surah Al-Anfal, ayah number 67, we learn, تُرِيدُونَ عَرَضَ الدُّنْيَا وَاللَّهُ يُرِيدُ الْآخِرَةِ. You all desire the goods of this world, whereas Allah wants for you the hereafter. So what does arad mean? The goods, the benefits of this world. So these people, the later generations, they were seeking through the deen the goods of this lower life. Notice the word al-adna. Al-adna is from the root letters dal, noon, waw, or dal, noon, hamza. Dal, noon, waw, or dal, noon, hamza. If we take it from the root letters dal, noon, waw, then it's from the word dunuv. And what does dunuv mean? Qurb. So adna is that which is very near, closest. Secondly, adna is from the root letters dal, noon, hamza, from the word dana'a. Dana'a. And what does dana'a mean? That which is lowly, that which is haqir. So the word dunya is derived from dunu as well as dana'a. Why? Because it is closer compared to the hereafter, and it is much lower compared to the hereafter. What do we learn? That the sunnah of Fajr, the 2 rak'ah before Fajr Salah, the 2 rak'ah sunnah, what are they? They are better than the dunya and all that which is in it. Just imagine, the whole dunya on one side, and 2 rak'ah on the other side. What is better? The 2 rak'ah. Why? Because dunya is very low. It's very less. It's very less compared to the hereafter. So these people were seeking the benefits of this lower life. It's not that they didn't have knowledge. They had the knowledge of the book. They inherited the book. But whatever they learned and taught of the book was different from what they did. This adna, this worldly life, this lower life was more important to them than the book of Allah. وَيَقُولُونَ, and they would say, meaning, if someone would advise them, that why are you seeking dunya through the deen? Why are you not giving the haqq of the book? What would they do? They would justify their sins. How would they justify them? By saying, سَيُغْفَرُ لَنَا, soon it will be forgiven for us. Why? Because Allah is Ghafurur Rahim. Because we are believers. We have memorized the book. We know the meaning of the book. We know the translation of the book. We understand the interpretation of the book. We are very knowledgeable. But the fact is that being knowledgeable alone is not enough. What is necessary? That a person must also implement what he has learned of the book. What was the problem with these people? They learned the knowledge of the book, but they didn't implement anything. Their focus was still the dunya. It was not the akhirah. Despite learning the book, their focus in life had not shifted to the hereafter. They were still worried and concerned about their world. And they would give up anything of the deen to earn the chattels of this world. For example, many times the Bani Israel, their scholars, what would they do? They would take bribes in order to change the commands of Allah, in order to give a ruling that was incorrect. يَأْخُذُونَ عَرَضَ هَذَا الْأَدْنَى وَيَقُولُونَ, and when they were reprimanded, when they were admonished, that why are you doing this? Fear Allah. What would they say? سَيُغْفَرُ لَنَا, we will be forgiven because we have acquired so much knowledge. We are so knowledgeable. We are huffaz. Therefore we can do whatever we want. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِن يَأْتِهِمْ عَرَضٌ مِثْلُهُ, and if it comes to them, what comes to them? عَرَضٌ, the commodities of this dunya, مِثْلُهُ, similar to it. Similar to what? Similar to what was offered to them before. Meaning, if they have another opportunity to earn dunya through the deen, to earn dunya, what would they do? يَأْخُذُوهُ, they would take it. In other words, they hope for forgiveness while still committing the crime, while still persisting on it. What is of the conditions of tawbah? That a person must leave the sin. Isn't it so? And if a person does not leave the sin, and he continues to commit the crime, and he says, tawbah, tawbah, is his tawbah going to be accepted? No. What is the condition? He must leave the sin. What does Allah say? They don't leave it. وَإِن يَأْتِهِمْ عَرَضٌ مِثْلُهُ يَأْخُذُوهُ أَلَمْ يُؤْخَذْ عَلَيْهِمْ, was it not taken from them? What? مِيثَاقُ الْكِتَابِ, the covenant of the book. What was the covenant that was taken from them? أَلَّا يَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ إِلَّا الْحَقِّ, that they should not say about Allah except that which is the truth. What is this covenant? In Surah Al-Imran, ayah 187, we learned earlier that وَإِذْ أَخَذَ اللَّهُ مِيثَاقَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ لَتُبَيِّنُنَّهُ لِلنَّاسِ وَلَا تَكْتُمُونَهُ. And mention when Allah took a covenant from those who were given the scripture, saying that you must make it clear to the people and not conceal it. They were told earlier that they must make the book known and they must not hide any of the book. They must not say about Allah except that which is the truth. So it's not that they are unaware of the crime that they're committing. They're very well aware. And mithaq was taken from them, that they must only say about Allah that which is correct. وَدَرَسُوا مَا فِيهِ, and they're aware of it. Why? Because they have studied whatever is in the book. It's not that they don't know what the book says. They know very clearly that they're forbidden from using the deen to obtain dunya. Darasu is from the root letters dal, ra, sin, dars. And what does dars mean? To study. So, they have studied the book. It's not that they're unaware of the rulings of the deen. They know. But still their actions contradict the deen. Why? Because their focus is the dunya. That is what they desire. That is what they want. The word darasa also means to wipe off, to erase. So darasu, meaning they wiped off literally what was in the book. The covenants that were made from them, they erased them. They removed them. They deleted them. The commands that they were given, whatever they did not like, they changed it. وَالدَّارُ الْآخِرَةِ. What does Allah say? That the home of the hereafter, it is خَيْرٌ لِلَّذِينَ يَتَّقُونَ. It is better for those people who fear. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Don't you understand that the akhirah is better and this dunya is adna? So you should strive for the akhirah and not the arad of this temporary world. So what do we learn in this ayah? First of all, you see at the beginning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that the later generations of the Bani Israel, of the Yahud, they were not worthy successors. They proved themselves to be unworthy. Why? Because they inherited the knowledge of the book, but they did not have any spirit of the deen. We learn that the companions of a messenger, those people who believe in the messenger, while the messenger is alive, they are the sincerest of people. They are the sincerest of the messenger's ummah. For example, if you look at the Sahaba, radiyallahu anhum, they served the deen with their lives, with their wealth, with their efforts, with their abilities. And then after them, who came? The Tabi'un. And after them, the Taba Tabi'un. And even them, how did they serve the deen? With similar spirits. However, after them, the generations that came afterwards, they were different. What do we learn from the famous hadith? That khayrun nasi qarni. The best of people are my generation. Summa alladhina yalunahum. Then those people who follow them. Summa alladhina yalunahum. Then those people who follow them. The best nation, the best people are which people? Those at the time of the messenger. Similarly, we see that the companions of Musa alayhi salam, such as Yusha ibn Nun, they were also very sincere. Similarly, Isa alayhi salam, his disciples, what were they called? Hawariyun. Why? Because they were very sincere. However, the generations that came afterwards, they were different. They lacked the spirit. And we see this not just with the prophets of Allah, but even after them. If there is a person who begins the work of deen, those people who work with him, who support him at the beginning, they are most sincere. And as time goes by, and people who come afterwards, they are different. They lack the spirit. Why? Because they have not gone through the same difficulties. They have not gone through the same challenges. They have received a deen, they have received a work that is already established. Because they have not sacrificed, they have not experienced it themselves, this is why they lack the spirit. Those people who learn and teach the deen at the beginning, what is their focus? That we want everybody to learn. Even if it means I have to sacrifice my time, my money, my energy. But because their focus is different, that is why their sacrifice, their commitment to the deen is also different. But people who come later, they are getting something that is pre-prepared from before. For them, learning the deen and teaching the deen is just getting another certificate, just getting another diploma, just to put something on their resume, just to get another paycheck. That's what the deen is for them. However, the people who are there at the beginning, the sabiqun, the earlier generations, they're always most sincere. Why? Because they always have to put in more effort. And people who come later, mostly, they lack the spirit of the deen. Why? Because they have not experienced the sacrifices themselves. We learn in Surah Maryam, ayah 59, فَخَلَفَ مِن بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفٌ أَضَاعُوا الصَّلَاةَ. Then there has succeeded them a generation who neglected the salah. Is it that they did not know the importance of salah? Perhaps they knew about the importance much more, but it's because they lacked the spirit. I remember once, one of the scholars, he was mentioning that today we have more access to Islamic knowledge compared to the people who came before us. To us, knowledge is more accessible. We have the entire Bukhari before us, the entire Sahih Muslim. We have the Tafseer of the Quran that perhaps the people before us never knew. There are many ahadith perhaps they never knew, but their iman was much better than our iman. Why? Because they had to struggle and strive to get that. We don't have to struggle or strive at all. All we have to do is go to a bookstore and buy a book set. And it's just sitting on our shelves, and we're so happy that yes, we have a set of Sahih Bukhari, of Sahih Muslim. Or we will go purchase something online, download something on our phones, on our computers, and we have it available. But what's the difference? How come they were more committed and we are not as committed? It's because we have not gone through the same experience. It's because we have not sacrificed for the deen the way they sacrificed. It's because our focus is still the arad of this dunya. That is the problem. Our focus is still the benefits of this world. Their focus was not the benefit of this dunya. They left all of their dunya to get the deen. The way Suhaib al-Rumi, the way Salman al-Farisi, the way so many of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, Mus'ab ibn Umair, the way they left their dunya to get the deen, we haven't had to do even a fraction of it. And if we are told to, if we are required to, then we say we did not commit for this. We never committed for this. We only committed for these many hours, for this much time. I cannot handle the stress. I cannot handle all this work. I never committed for this, so I am leaving. This is our behavior towards the deen. Obviously, how much ever we give, how much ever we sacrifice, that is what we're going to get. If we don't sacrifice more, then how can we get more? We cannot get more. What's the problem? Why did they not benefit from the knowledge of the book that they inherited? It's because their focus is يَأْخُذُونَ عَرَضَ هَذَا الْأَدْنَى. Their focus is still this worldly life. The benefits of this worldly life. That's what they want. And they're not willing to give that up at all, even for the sake of deen. But the earlier generations, they left their dunya to get the deen. And now, the later generations, they're giving up their deen to get the dunya. They're giving up their religion to obtain their dunya. And we see this in daily life even sometimes. For example, in the month of Ramadan, what is the focus? Worship, ibadah, fasting, reading the Quran, praying the salah and reciting more and more Quran in it. This is the objective. This is the focus of the month of Ramadan. But unfortunately, what happens with many of our Muslim sisters? They will spend so much of their day, so much of their time preparing only the iftar. And what do they say? That we are serving those people who are fasting. We are pleasing our husbands. We are pleasing our families. Yes, of course, that's very important. But is this the only way that is left to please your husband with? Spending so many hours standing in the kitchen, not being able to pray even the fard salah with khushu', forget about reciting the Quran. So what's the objective then? يَأْخُذُونَ عَرَضَ هَذَا الْأَدْنَى. They will sacrifice their deen to get some pleasure of this dunya. Then obviously, depending on how much you sacrifice, that's what you're going to get. Similarly, women will spend so much time cooking, so much time dressing up, so much time shopping, so much time setting themselves up. Why? That we are pleasing our husbands, and that is the best sadaqah. Yes, it is. But is this the only way of pleasing your husband? Or is your husband the only one left to please in this world? Yes, it is your primary responsibility. However, what about the haqq of the deen? What about the haqq of Allah? What about your salah? What about your Quran? What about the fact that you are of the Muslim ummah and it is your responsibility to convey the message to other people? Thousands and thousands of people are dying in a state of disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Isn't it your responsibility that you must help them? Our focus has become this dunya, and we are not willing to give up the arad of this dunya. And because of that, we cannot give the haqq of deen. Because of that, we cannot give the haqq of deen. And when we cannot do that, then how can we benefit from the deen? We cannot. And if you look over here, that in this ayah it has been said that they say, سَيُغْفَرُ لَنَا. When they're told when they're reprimanded, when they're advised, they say, we will be forgiven inshallah. Why? Allah is Ghafurur Rahim. He knows my niyyah. He knows how much I want to do something and how much I'm not able to do it. And besides, I have studied the Quran once. I have memorized these portions of the Quran. سَيُغْفَرُ لَنَا. But is maghfirah guaranteed for anybody? How do you know you'll be forgiven? Just because you're of the Muslim Ummah? Just because of that? What about your responsibility? Aren't you going to be questioned about it? سَيُغْفَرُ لَنَا is not a justification. This is not enough. You have to do something as well. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِن يَأْتِهِمْ عَرَضٌ مِثْلُهُ. And if a similar opportunity comes before them to earn more dunya, they will leap for it. They will jump for it. They will not go for the deen, but they will jump to earn more dunya. They will strive to earn more dunya. So what does it show? Again, their focus is the dunya, not the deen. Their focus is the worldly enjoyment and not the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And with regards to this part of the ayah in particular, the scholars of Tafseer say that every time the children of Israel, they appointed a judge, he used to take bribes. Why? Why would he take bribes? That he would take money, and for that he would give a fatwa, he would give a judgment that was incorrect, that would contradict the Torah. The best ones among them held a council, and they took covenants from each one that they would not take bribes. So all of the scholars, they got together and they said, nobody is taking bribes. However, when one of them would take bribes in return for judgment and was asked, what is the matter with you? You take a bribe to grant judgment? He would reply, I will be forgiven. يُغْفَرُ لَنَا. So the rest of his people would admonish him for what he did. But when he died or was replaced, the one who replaced him would take bribes as well. Do you understand? If somebody else was taking bribes, they would tell him, why are you doing it? Don't do this. But if they themselves were given the same opportunity, they would also fall for it. Therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if the others who admonish them would have a chance to loot this world, they will take it as well. يَأْخُذُوهُ. They would take it. What does Allah say? That, don't they know? أَلَمْ يُؤْخَذَ عَلَيْهِمْ مِيثَاقُ الْكِتَابِ. Was the covenant not taken from them in the book that أَلَّا يَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ إِلَّا الْحَقِّ, they must not say about Allah except that which is the truth? Then why are they contradicting the book? Why are they going against the book? And if we see, so many times we know what is in the Quran. We know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded. But still in our actions we contradict. We contradict in hopes that سَيُغْفَرُ لَنَا. But this behavior is not acceptable. وَدَرَسُوا مَا فِيهِ, especially after we have studied it. And what do we need to remember? That وَالدَّارُ الْآخِرَةِ, the home of the hereafter, it is خَيْرٌ لِلَّذِينَ يَتَّقُونَ. It is better for those people who adopt taqwa. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Don't you understand? Don't you use your reason? You will still prefer this worldly life over the hereafter? If you look at it, so many times when we ask people that come and study the Quran, come and serve the deen, come and help a little bit, a few months, a few hours, what is the top excuse that people give? We don't have time. I have no time. I'm sorry, I'm too busy. I really don't have time. I can only come for these many hours, not more than that. I can come and do the work at the institute, but I cannot take anything home. I don't have time. You have the same amount of time that other people are given. Why do you think it's not your responsibility and it's the responsibility of other people only? Why do we think like that? That I cannot do it, other people will do it. I have my children, I have a husband, but other people, don't they have their children? Don't they have their husbands? Is it fair that we are always putting off the work for other people, saying we don't have time? If we have to go to a wedding, we have time. If we have to host a party, we have time. If we have to spend hours talking to people, we have time. But if we have to sit and memorize a lesson or mark a few test papers, then we don't have time. Why? Why? Why can we not make time for something that we like, for something that is important to us? Remember, anything that is important to you, you will definitely make time for it. You will make time for it. You will get up in the night for it. You will wake up early for it. You will do anything to make time for it, for something that is important to you. And for what is not important to you, then you will never find time for it. But we need to take the matter of deen seriously. It is our responsibility so that we can offer ma'adira before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, oh Allah, I did my best with whatever you gave me. And I did my best. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَّقُونَ. And if they didn't, I did my best. I did whatever I could. But we need to check ourselves. Are we really doing our best? Are we really using the best of our abilities? Many times we think that my family comes first, my children come first, my house comes first. Yes, okay, it does come first. But if you don't help other people, if you don't help somebody else's child, then how do you expect your child to be helped? How do you expect your family to be helped? Whatever you give is what you get. And if you only keep things to yourself, then you will not increase in your goodness. What does Allah say? لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. And of the best forms of shukr is what? Through jawarih as well. By doing some actions. By doing something. And what is the best thing that you can do today? Serve the deen in the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has enabled you to do it. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالَّذِينَ يُمَسِّكُونَ بِالْكِتَابِ. But those people who hold fast to the book, yumassikuna, they hold on to the book. They don't leave it, even for a moment, even for a day, even for a week, even for a month. They hold on to it. They never take a break. They never say, I've done too much. I need a break now. وَالَّذِينَ يُمَسِّكُونَ بِالْكِتَابِ. Those people who hold on to the book. Yumassikuna is from the root letters Mim, Sin, Kaf. Mask, imsak. And imsak is to hold on fast to something. To hold on to something and to guard it. To not let it go. We learned earlier in Surah Al-Baqarah, فَإِمْسَاكٌ بِمَعْرُوفٍ أَوْ تَسْرِيحٌ بِإِحْسَانٍ. That at the pronunciation of the first and second divorce, then what does a man have to do? Either he has to keep the wife with ma'roof, or he has to let her go with ihsan. Imsak, he has to keep her, hold on to her, retain her, guard her, protect her, give her the haqq that she deserves. So, وَالَّذِينَ يُمَسِّكُونَ بِالْكِتَابِ. Those people who hold on to the book, they don't leave it. وَأَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ. And they also establish the salah. إِنَّا لَا نُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُصْلِحِينَ. Indeed, we never let go waste the reward of those who reform, those who are doing islah of themselves and also of those who are around them. Such people, we will never waste their reward. Who? First of all, they hold on to the book. Some people, when they learn the book, they make it a means of earning their dunya. And other people, who when they read the book, they understand it and they also implement it. And they have a constant connection with the Qur'an. Constant. It's not a temporary one, it's a permanent one. If you look at it, earlier we learned that the Khalf, they only darasu. They only studied the book. And study can be only once, twice, maybe 3 times. Okay, maybe 4 or 5 times. But it's a temporary thing. But yumassikuna, tamsik, this is holding on to the book permanently. It's not that a person studies it for a particular reason and then he leaves it. No. He's holding on to the book permanently. And what does it mean by holding on to the book permanently? First of all, this means that a person studies it. And he does not forget it after studying it, after learning it. Now tell me, if you study one thing once only, and then you don't revise it, will you remember it or will you forget it? You'll forget it. If you took a math course, statistics course, some geography course back in high school, in university, and I ask you something about it right now, perhaps you won't be able to remember it. Maybe you'll remember something about it, but you won't be able to solve it. If it's a problem to solve, you won't be able to. Why? Because you haven't been revising it. How do we think then? That if we study the Qur'an once, twice, thrice, maybe 4 or 5 times, and we don't need to study it again? You need to study it again. You need to continue to revise it. Because if you leave it, you will forget it. Remember, if you leave it, you will forget it. The only way of holding on to the book is constantly studying the book. Never think that if you've studied the Qur'an a few times, it is enough. And now you need to move on to something else. No. You can never move on to something else from the Qur'an. You always have to remain connected with the Qur'an. Always. This is like a lifelong thing. Never can you leave it now. Never. Because if you leave it and you think you need to move on to something else by leaving the Qur'an, you're going to forget it sooner or later. Sooner or later you're going to forget it. Yumassikuna is only possible if you study it and you don't forget it after you have learned it. And this means that if a person has memorized it, then he continues to revise it. If he has learned the translation, then he continues to revise it. And he increases in his learning. Secondly, yumassikuna bil kitab is by holding on to the book constantly and not being ghafil of it, not being negligent about it, not being heedless about it, not being careless about it, but rather always holding on to it. You see, if something is important to you, like for example, if you have to go do your groceries and you make a list of what you have to buy. You make the list and you leave it at home and you go to the grocery store. It's not going to work, right? Okay. You make the list and you put it in your bag and you don't open it over there. Is it going to work? No. You have to keep checking. Isn't it so? Sometimes you check after every aisle, after every section. Some people actually, they're holding their list throughout and they put it back in their bag when they're done with their groceries. Right? So, as long as you have it in front of you, yumassikuna bil kitab, you're holding on to it firmly, it will continue to guide you. The moment you put it away, the moment you become ghafil of it, you'll forget it. The moment you become ghafil of it, you'll forget it. It's not going to benefit you. وَالَّذِينَ يُمَسِّكُونَ بِالْكِتَابِ. And yumassikuna bil kitab, thirdly, also means that they act upon it. They learn it, they practice it, and they give it its haqq. And the sign that a person is really holding on to the book is what? وَأَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ. That a person will establish the prayer. Because many times we think that we're studying the book, we're teaching the book, so it's okay if I don't really establish the salah, that I delay the salah. No, iqamatul salah is very important. What did we learn about the other group? أَضَاعُوا الصَّلَاةَ. The ayah that I mentioned to you of Surah Maryam, that they wasted their salah, they neglected their salah. Over here, what do we learn? أَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ. And such people who do this, they're muslihin. They're those people who are reforming. They're rectifying their own selves and also those around them. Because as long as you hold on to the Qur'an, you will continue to see your mistakes, you will continue to see your shortcomings, and you will continue to reform them. The moment you put it away, the moment you remove yourself from the scan, you will not see any mistakes anymore, any faults anymore. Isn't it so? As long as you remain behind the screen, behind the scan, you will continue to see the mistakes, you will continue to see the faults. But the moment you remove it, you won't see it anymore. So, such people are muslihin, who constantly hold on to the Qur'an, because the Qur'an tells us what is right, what is wrong.